We've been trained in all kinds of phrases, like, sticks and stones will break my bones, but
words will never hurt.
Such a lie. How about this one? Time heals all. Sorry, God heals all wounds. Time does not. So, if we got all these lies that we've now incorporated in our lives, could there not be other lies about our physical bodies and what we're supposed to do with them? Because they're out there, they're pretty strong. I believe so. But for me, why would it be so important for me to come to know the person of Jesus? Why would it be so important for me to know that He died for me? You know, the Good Shepherd, will He not leave the 99 for the one lost sheep? You know what that means compared to salvation? That means that if all of you guys had no problem with sin, if the whole world had no problem with sin, but I was the only one that had sinned, Jesus would have still gone to the cross for me or for you. That's what that means. Now, why is that so important? Well, because you see, there's things about me that you don't know because we've just met, but if you'd grown up with me, you would have never known because my mask was really good and my walls were really, really good. You see, at 8.5 years old, I encountered an abuse situation as a kid. And I made a vow that day that I would be damned if I would ever tell anybody that story. Because you see, when I was done with that incident, I began to believe that it was my fault. Now, how could an 8.5-year-old little boy be guilty of an abuse situation by a relative at 8.5? It's very simple. We all know we have guardian angels, yes? And generally, when I ask the people, do you know why you have a guardian angel? They'll all say, well, yeah, to guard you, protect you, and also help you get to heaven. Yeah. Well, you have a guardian angel assigned to you also because you have a fallen angel assigned to you, otherwise known as a demon. I'm not trying to freak you out. I'm just letting you know what's going on because their first line of defense is ambiguity. They don't want you to know that they exist. So what's their job? It's very simple. Their job is to get you to enact your free will to reject God and His teachings and His truth. Which is why I told you that tonight's conversation is going to be very hard. Why? Because you've been receiving a lifetime of instruction, not from God, but from those guys through the media to illustrate and communicate to you false teaching. And you know what? We've bought into it hook, line, and sinker. Ladies, there's a multi-billion-dollar industry out there that's trying to make you believe that you are insufficient and not pretty unless you use their products. So basically, you're being used for your money. Same thing's happening with guys too, just in a different way. They're giving us all these different mixed messages, all the while trying to attack our identity. They don't want you to receive the truth. They don't want you to ever embrace the fact that you were created to be a son and daughter of God. They don't want you to embrace the fact that if the Holy Spirit comes alive in you and empowers you, you have the ability to send them away. They don't want you to get connected to the living God because they want you to use your free will to reject God. So for me, at that little boy at 8.5 years old, it's very simple. When that situation happened, I went upstairs. I heard this voice that says, you know, if you hadn't been playing army in the basement, that would have never happened to you. And you know what? That's true. But the next voice after that said, and because you did choose to go to the basement, what happened there was your fault. And all I did is accepted that lie as truth. And you know what I began to do? Believe it. I began to believe it. I began to believe it. I began to be living it. I began to be living that I was broken, no good, damaged, and that nobody could ever love me. If you knew the truth of who I was, nobody could love me. So that's why I made a vow that nobody would ever know the story. About 6 months later, I was playing army again in the basement and didn't know, nobody was down there. But I kicked in my brother's closet door shooting this imaginary army. And I found a stack of Playboy and Penthouse magazines. That's at 9 years old I fell upon those. So can you imagine what would happen if I snuck down there for 3 years and looked at all those? I developed a pretty healthy addiction to porn. I remember looking at the first magazine saying, you know, it's not... I felt two things. First one was my guardian angel. Oh, you should go. This is not good. This is terrible. You should go. This is bad. But then the other voice said, what's the big deal? You're not doing anything wrong. You're just looking at pictures. You're just looking at pictures. It's not a big deal. St. Ignatius says that there's three voices a person hears. God through his angels and his saints. Second, your conscience. And third is the demon assigned to you, who sounds like your conscience. You see, we're under assault. We don't even know it because many of us in this room, I bet you came in here tonight, don't even believe that they exist. And if you do, you think, I don't care. That's fine. You can choose not to care. But just so you know the truth. So these guys working with the media pumped a whole bunch of stuff to us. But we got to have some anchor. We got to have something that's going to give us an anchor for where to see, and that anchor needs to be God. Well, I'm not sure I buy into God, if I'm going to be honest, Deacon Ralph. I'm like, totally understand. I understand. I was where you were at, and I didn't believe in God when I was your age. It wasn't until I was a senior in high school that I finally began to connect the dots, and someone who knew how to lead me to the person of Jesus led me to the person of Jesus. And it was at that point that I opened up myself to the possibility where I moved from the knowledge of my head to my heart and said, could Jesus really be real? Because if he is, I want him in my life. That little boy that was crushed and broken that nobody knew about because I was too busy playing pretend, putting on the mask and pretense, that little boy, nobody knew. He's the one that was hoping. Could Jesus be real? Could this guy really have died for me? Because who would want to die for a guy who not only did that sick thing in the basement, but also was addicted to porn? Who would want to die for somebody like that? Jesus would. Because he sees more in me and he sees more in you than we give ourselves credit for. Why? Because we're so busy listening to the world. I'm a father of 5 daughters. Go figure, God's twisted sense of humor. Took the Lord 11 years to break me out of my addiction to pornography. 11 years of really seriously fighting and suffering and dying. But with 5 daughters, I've seen my girls grow up. And the influence of the world constantly trying to penetrate the house. My girls that have straight hair want curly hair, so they buy curlers. And the girls that have curly hair want to have straight hair, so they buy straighteners. Always constantly looking at the other side. Oh, my life would be so much better if I looked like him. Or if I had this body type, or this hair color, or now this nose. And ladies, you're under so much assault. People are telling you, you have to have your bodies surgically changed so that you become more desirable. So now you need to have larger breasts. You need to have whatever augmented on your body because who you are, what you are is not enough. You see, the world is trying to get you to look and focus on the physical. It's all about the physical, but the problem is you're going to get old. And when you get old, then what happens? Are you no longer desirable? Are you no longer beautiful? Are you no longer worth anything? Are you no longer worth a man's attention? Or his desires because you've lost your teenage beauty? I remember I was doing this communion service at this retirement home, and there was this woman